improv at UU St. Pete. Good morning. Welcome both in the sanctuary and online to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, the home of the many transplants, as we practice together in acknowledging the tribes of the Tocobaga and Seminole Native Americans that were here before our history books would name them. My name is Jeanay Johnson, and my pronouns are she, her. I am a woman of Cameroonian descent, wearing Roma tomato red with my locks in a bun and starry earrings. I welcome you to today's service titled, Where is the Independence and Independence Day? Today, we have a couple of holidays that land on this Sunday. So the first Sunday of July in Australia launches a week of dedication to celebrating the history and culture and achievements of the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people. Also, today is Pet Remembrance Day, a day dedicated to honor the profound bond we shared with our companion animals who have crossed over to the Rainbow Bridge. Also, today is National Graham Cracker Day and National Apple Turnover Day. So I encourage you to partake in those meals afterwards. So, as you've heard, we'll have music by Liam, and today's worship associate is my wonderful colleague and friend, Morgan Gresham.
Thanks, Jeanay. My name is Morgan Gresham, and my pronouns are she, her. If you want a church with the freedom to grow spiritually and a shared commitment to justice and equity, I have good news. You may have found your church home. We celebrate the presence of children in our community and welcome their curiosity, laughter, and enthusiasm. Families are encouraged to bring their children and grandchildren often. And in the back, you will find a basket of fidget toys available for children and adults alike.
At this time, please help us sing the children, if there are any present, out to their classes. Go Now in Peace, number 413 in the Great Hymnal. So we also have a couple announcements today. Today is the first Sunday, so as you know, we have the LGBTQIA+ lunch after service. Please order a service to complete the survey. I really encourage you to just provide feedback. Give it a look-see during coffee hour.
And please read the rest of your announcements in the order of service, in our newsletter, and on the TV in Gilmore, and in the kitchen during coffee hour.
Now, if you have arrived here today new or seasoned, you are here because you already know that this is a safe space to be a people of different beliefs. So with that said, if you are here, you also share a common faith that every bit of essence is worthy of love, that our time and our energy matter so much in this world, and also we are stuck together. There's no planet B. So let's figure this out together. Whoever you are, wherever you are welcomed here. If you're new to UU St. Pete or relatively new, would you mind giving us a wave? Oh, we're all seasoned in here. Hi, y'all.
Thank you, and thanks for putting your cell phones into worship mode or mute them. And for today's Greet Your Neighbor, we have a question we would like you to ask one another. What does freedom mean to you? So,
you will have 1 minute to discuss that within one another. Good luck. And at the sound of the chime, come on back. That was good. ladies and gentlemen, your time is up. Good luck, and hold that further discussion for coffee hour. Now please rise as you're willing and able, and open your hymnal to number 145 in the great hymnal, as we're led by Michael Rowe singing As Tranquil Streams.
With accompaniment by Liam Dunn, and Michael Pohl is joining us on the organ for the first time up in the balcony. Welcome them. All right, take it away, Michael. Go. As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free, free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed, free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need, a freedom that leads
Please remain standing for our chalice lighting. The flaming chalice is a reminder that we choose to focus here together for this time today, and that we believe such time is sacred. So when Cal lights her chalice, I invite you to say our covenant out loud. The words can be found in your programs online as well. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You may be seated.
We come to the time in our service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. Those of you on YouTube Live are not in this room, but your presence is still felt. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern to submit during the week, please write to Reverend Ben. Right now, Albie will place a stone in the water for each one that was submitted this week. If you have additional cards that you filled out to bring up, please do so at this time, or ask a neighbor to bring yours up.
Each week, we appreciate someone or someones who have worked hard to accomplish our mission. This week, we have a stone of joy for our children's spiritual exploration teachers, AKA former religious education. One teacher graduated high school class of 2026. Another teacher is a trans chaplain and has been helping during our sunset supper. The other continues to give our kiddos so much love after 3 years, and another teacher holds over a decade of dedication to our children. A stone of joy and gratitude for the artist Tanya Webster for creating the UU Values graphics for use in the UU faith tradition.
I have a stone of concern from Earl Waters. Happy 4th. May we celebrate liberty and justice for all, and not just white male property owners. Any other stones? We still have a moment. I don't know. All
Not
right.
today.
And we will place a final stone in for those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be spoken out loud.
May all of us find comforting and compassionate presence in the warmth of fellowship and community. Oh,
We do have one more.
I
Yes.
retract that statement. Morgan, take it away.
And we have a stone from Samantha Jones. My friend came over and we had a sleepover, and it was very fun.
Wonderful.
Yes. We now invite you to say the sentence of our UU St. Pete mission out loud. It is printed in your order of service. Our mission is to be an inclusive, evolving religious community that inspires spiritual and intellectual growth to make our world a better place.
We come from different places, carrying different joys, griefs, questions, and hopes, and yet, here in this gathered community, we are reminded that none of us is alone. May we honor the sacred thread that connects us all, so may it be. Let us share a moment of silence.
Our reading this morning is entitled Equality in a Sea of Inequality, written by Peggy Clark. When this country was founded, the aspiration was high. The men who imagined it dreamed big, casting a vision of a world where all men were created equal, where rights were endowed by our Creator, transcending culture and the expectations of the day, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be allowed and enjoyed without infringement. It was a radical and new vision, born from the Enlightenment optimism, inspired by scientific discovery. It was an intoxicating vision, as bold as the Protestant Reformation that swept all of Europe. And they had the hubris to believe that they could make it happen, They staked their claim in the Declaration of Independence and institutionalized it in the Constitution. They elected their first president, and when he stepped down, relinquishing power to return to the role of citizen, those founders believed they lived to see their vision realized. The new president ran for office, and the republic was up and running. It was done, a new world order. Those men weren't distracted by the genocide they inspired or the enslavement of other people they required for this nation to be born. They declared equality while swimming in the sea of inequality. When they declared all men were created equal, they meant white Protestant men. They didn't mean women. They weren't including black people who'd been enslaved or those who were free. They didn't include Catholics, Jews, or people who didn't own land. They were so proud of their inclusivity, so inspired by their own cutting-edge philosophy, that they had no idea how narrow it was, how constrictive, how small a vision. The men who wrote those words were calling into being a more perfect union. They were establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, securing the blessings of liberty. They believed that they and the men of their generation would will this new nation into being. They would establish the structures required for such a grand vision. They would test it, and then it would be done. They didn't realize that it would require many more people, many more voices, different voices. They didn't know how many generations would have to be a part of the creation of that dream, how long it would take before the nation they imagined would be made manifest. The soul of America has yet to be born.
It's lit. How about up there? Great, great, great. I think I can hear me. I see a couple heads saying no. Maybe just more volume. So, did you guys come last week and sing This Land Is Your Land? Or maybe hear it sung? Yeah, we're going to do it again. Such a good song, we're going to do it again. I wasn't here, so we have to sing it again. But no, this time we're going to sing it as a group, and we're going to focus on some of the lesser-known verses. Some of the lesser-known verses. You pull out your insert. Mine is really large, but you should have one inside of your bulletin. Great. So you can see on the first page, there's lyrics there that were written by, it says Goody, but it should be Woody Guthrie. It also says that Carissa and Robert Wallace will be joining us, but Robert Logan and Carissa are ill today, and Robert Wallace doesn't sing, so unless you want to, come join us. So we have song lyrics here that are broad. They're bigger than the first verse that we all know so well. If you look on the back of that insert, you'll also see some other lyrics that have been written by other composers, including at the top of that page, Pete Seeger. Was a famous UU of our persuasion. And you can see some lyrics there. They're really, really interesting to me. If you jump down to stanza number 10, there's one from the First Nations perspective. And there are some here from Don Caron at the end that are also maybe more modern, contemporary views. I even found some that celebrated Earth Day, but couldn't fit them all on here. So it's a song that's broad in its reach. Even just the original verses written by Woody Guthrie were pretty progressive. So here's what I want to do. I want us to sing some of these, not all of them. That's too many. But let's start and end with the very first verse that we know so well. But if you have a favorite or one you'd like to sing, maybe raise your hand. We'll fit 3 more in and sing them as a group. So maybe call out which number of one you'd like to sing. 10. All right, I heard a 10, so I'm going to circle 10. When we'll get there, I'll call out 10. What else? 5. I heard a 5. Earl, I saw your hand. Were you? And 12. All right, so we're going to sing 1, 5, 10, and 12, and back to 1, okay? And I need your help on this because the words come fast. Here we go. Well, you just play. You don't have to know words. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to
Where is the Independence and Independence Day? Lift every voice and sing. He did say we have a new choir in here. I, for one, am tone deaf. I cannot sing. But every year, this country celebrates Independence Day with fireworks, flags, cookouts, parades, and patriotic songs. It is one of the most familiar holidays on the American calendar, and it comes with a powerful national story, a story of freedom, courage, rebellion, and the birth of a new nation. Till earth and heaven ring. But for a people of faith, especially for Unitarian Universalists, celebration should never require us to turn away from the truth. So today we sit with the question in the title, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. This is not a question meant to shame the celebration, like those who found solace fleeing as stowaways and making a name for themselves here in the advertised American dream. It is not a question meant to dismiss the individual and collective experience. It is a question meant to deepen the celebration by asking whether the promise of independence has ever fully been shared. High as the listening skies. The Declaration of Independence gave this country some of its most powerful language. It spoke of equality, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those words inspired movements, speeches, protests, legal arguments, and generations of people who believed America become more honest than it was at its founding. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. And yet from the beginning there was a contradiction. The country declared liberty while slavery continued through 1865. It spoke of equality while indigenous people like those of the Tokabega and Seminole tribes, the Arawaks and Blackfoots, where my great-grandfather was born, were displaced, moved from Florida to Oklahoma to Mexico, and destroyed. It spoke of rights while women were intentionally excluded from political power but forced patriarchal accountability that was not of her own doing in the first place. And don't even try to identify as anyone liking the same sex, you're done. It spoke of freedom while whole communities were excluded, redlined, flooded, shrouded, erased, denied safety, land, wages, education, voting rights, bodily autonomy, full belonging to the essence of simply being human. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has brought us. So the question is not whether the words were beautiful, the question is whether they were meant for everyone. Frederick Douglass understood this contradiction clearly because in 1852 he asked, what to the slave is the 4th of July? A term that diminished the human vessel to be branded on anyone darker than a brown paper bag. His question exposed the moral gap between national celebration and national reality. He was not asking whether freedom mattered. He was asking how could a country celebrate freedom while simultaneously denying it to millions. We think of the many camps that were opened and made to imprison those who were considered illegal on land, or simply targeted because of their accents or how they looked. That question still belongs to us. What does Independence Day mean when some people remain unhoused? Excuse me, I got a sore throat today. It's not done. What does it mean when families work full-time and cannot meet basic needs? What does it mean when some children inherit opportunity while others inherit struggle? What does it mean when rights exist on paper but are difficult to access in real life? What does it mean when people are asked to celebrate liberty while still fighting to be safe, seen, and protected and treated with dignity? These are not political questions. They are spiritual questions. These are social justice questions. They ask what kind of freedom are we willing to practice? They ask whether liberty is only an individual possession or whether it is a shared responsibility. This is where Unitarian Universalism offers a useful and necessary framework to build upon. UUs are not bound together by a single creed, as we should know. In this life, we do not all have to believe in the same thing about God, scripture, salvation, prayer, heaven or hell, the soul, or the afterlife. I've witnessed many lessons explored within the congregations. Sabina clearly heard that I cannot breathe. Thank you so much. So for full transparency, my sinuses have been kicking my tail for the last week, and I'm like, this is not the time for this to happen. I literally got to preach on Sunday. Can you please, throat, can we be on the same page? Thank you. Apparently my spirit and my vessel are on 2 different pages, so bear with me. There are several billions of us. Some believe in God, some do not. Some pray. Some see it as a waste of time. Some meditate. Some fall asleep. Some find the sacred in nature, music, science, silence, social justice work, community, or the mystery of being alive. UUism is not a creedal tradition, it's a covenantal tradition. That means that you're held together by promises, formed by the promises about how we live with one another, how to practice care, how to honor differences, how to repair harm, and how to work toward a world where dignity is not reserved for only a few. Of course, that first has to start within our homes, because we can't cosplay the inherent worth and dignity. We have to live it. Our UU shared values give language to those promises. Gosh, that really helped. At the center is love. Surrounding love are interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equality. Equity, big difference, equity. These values are not decorative. They are simply words for a banner. They are not simply words for a banner, a website, or a committee report. They are a spiritual discipline, a guide for accountability to one another. They give way to examine our lives, our congregation, our responsibilities, and our country. Let us march on till victory is won. They also give us a better way to understand freedom. Independence Day often centers the idea of a personal liberty. I'm asking you to go deeper. I ask whether freedom can be real, how can freedom be real if it is not rooted in love, shaped by justice, sustained by generosity, corrected by equity, and opened by pluralism, and also changed by transformation while being grounded in interdependence. It is not the work to do when it is convenient or when we feel like it. It is not limited to a Saturday morning protest or an afternoon of holding signs. It is a lifestyle for many. We can't turn it off when we get tired. It is life to remind the system that this country was built off the backs of genocide. History is hard. It is uncensored and raw, and most often uncomfortable. It is genetic and embedded. It is the dark and indebted to so many, but the system won't let it. History is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. How can we continue to move forward with what we are? I like to begin with love. Bob Marley once shared that love was his religion. Shoot, mine too. Love is often misunderstood. Love is not simply being nice. Love is not politeness. Love is not avoiding conflict. Love is not pretending that everything is fine. Love is not keeping the peace at the expense of someone else's dignity. Love is a force. It is a practice. It is a discipline. It is what calls us forth with truth, accountability, and compassion, as well as repair. Love asks freedom, whether freedom belongs only to a person who can claim it, or whether freedom must include the neighbor who is still struggling to reach it. Sabine, I need to know what brand that was. Like literally for a few days. Sorry, y'all. If independence is in fact not rooted in love, it can become selfishness. If freedom is not rooted in love, it can become the freedom to ignore suffering. If liberty is not rooted in love, it can become permission for the powerful to protect only themselves. Within these walls, love cannot only be something we say in worship. It must show up in how we welcome people, how we care for children, how we feed people, how we protect the vulnerable, how we listen when harm is named, how we handle disagreement, and how we remain accountable to one another. Love is not soft. Love is demanding. Love says that my freedom and your freedom are connected. That brings us to interdependence. American culture often teaches that independence means not needing anyone. It praises self-sufficiency, individual successes, and personal achievement. But none of us are truly independent in that way. Every life is supported by other lives. We depend on the earth. We depend on clean water, breathable air, soil, trees, pollinators, oceans, and the climate. We depend on farmers, teachers, nurses, sanitation workers, builders, truck drivers, caregivers, artists, elders, ancestors, and peoples whose names we may never even know but still impacted our lives. We depend on roads we did not pave, schools we did not build, and knowledge we did not create and sacrifices we did not personally make. Are you listening? Interdependence does not erase personal responsibility. It actually deepens it. It reminds us that our choices affect more than ourselves. It tells us that the suffering of one another, of one person, is connected to the suffering of the whole community. A community cannot call itself free while ignoring the conditions that keep some of its people trapped. Then we come to pluralism. Pluralism means we do not require sameness in order to belong. It's one of the greatest strengths of UUism, and also one of its greatest challenges. In a UU congregation, the person sitting beside you, or the spirit sitting beside you, may not believe what you believe. They may not pray the way that you pray. They might not use the same language for the sacred. They may come from a different culture, a different political background, a different family structure, a different wound, hope, different understanding of what religion or spirituality really means to them. Pluralism does not mean that anything goes. It does not mean harm is excused in the name of difference. It does not mean that every opinion has the same moral weight. Pluralism means we make room for the dignity of difference while remaining accountable to love. This matters for any country that values freedom, that claims to value freedom. Freedom cannot mean that everyone must be from the same in order to belong. It must include room for different cultures, theologies, identities, histories, and ways of making meaning. A church that practices pluralism is not trying to create a community where everyone agrees. It's impossible. It is trying to create a community where difference does not have to become division. That requires humility. It requires curiosity. It requires a willingness to listen without immediately defending ourselves. It requires us to be changed by the truth of another person's experience. We've all heard the saying, "You haven't worn my shoes." So then we flow to justice. Justice is where love enters the public life. Justice asks whether our values have consequences beyond our personal intentions. It asks whether our laws, institutions, budgets, schools, churches, neighborhoods, and systems reflect the dignity that we claim to believe in. It is possible to speak about freedom while accepting conditions that make freedom impossible. If someone has rights on paper but cannot access housing, healthcare, food, education, transportation, safety, or fair treatment, then independence is incomplete. If a community celebrates liberty while normalizing poverty, racism, ableism, transphobia, misogyny, religious bigotry, and economic exploitation, then that celebration clearly needs examination. Justice keeps freedom from becoming a private luxury. This does not mean that every sermon must sound like a policy reform platform, kind of like how mine sound today. It does not mean that every church conversation must become partisan, but it does mean that faith cannot be neutral about human suffering. Justice calls beyond charity alone and toward repair. Charity asks, how can we help someone survive the conditions as they are? Justice asks why those conditions exist in the first place. So then we flow to transformation. UUism is a living tradition, living and breathing. That means it grows, it learns, it listens, it expands, it revises, it confesses, it repairs. Transformation does not mean we throw away everything that came before us. It means that we refuse to treat the past as sacred simply because it's familiar. The former UU principles served many people very well, from the 6 principles to the 7 to the 8th. They gave generations of Unitarian Universalists language for dignity, conscience, democracy, and so forth. Those principles shaped lives, congregations, ministries, and movements. The shared values do not erase that history. They, in fact, build from it. They move us toward a language that is more relational, more active, more accountable, and more clearly centered in love. That is not failure at all. That is growth. A country can mature as a church can mature, as a person can mature. A tradition can admit that its language was not complete and still honor the good that that language once carried, if it does. Transformation says that what brought us this far may not be enough to carry everyone forward. It gives us permission to grow without pretending that we were always right. So in my thoughts, Independence Day needs transformation too. The story of America is not finished. The meaning of freedom is not finished. The work of democracy is not finished. The practice of justice is not finished, and neither are we. So then we flow to generosity. And it's often reduced to money, but it's larger than that. Generosity is the practice of sharing what we have so life can flourish, like when we're watering a plant. It includes financial giving because church programs, care, and justice works require the resources, but generosity also includes time, attention, patience, labor, forgiveness, imagination, honesty, hospitality, and so forth. The culture of individualism asks, what is mine? A culture of generosity asks, what can I help to make possible? Generosity is how independence becomes community. At UU St. Pete, generosity looks like showing up. It looks like feeding people. It looks like supporting the children and youth. It looks like caring for our elders. It looks like volunteering when the same few people have been carrying too much. It looks like giving when we are able. It looks like welcoming visitors with sincerity. It looks like making room for hard conversations. It looks like offering what we can, especially knowing that everything is not perfect. Generosity does not ask everyone to give the same thing. It asks each of us to ask honestly, what has been entrusted to us and how can we serve life? And finally, because I don't want you here all day, we come to equity. Equity asks whether freedom is actually reachable. Equality says everyone is invited to the table. Notice the difference? Equity asks whether everyone can reach the table, enter the room, afford the meal, understand the language, survive the journey, and be treated with dignity once they arrive. Equity matters for disability access. It matters for racial justice. It matters for children and youth identities. It matters for elders. It matters for LGBTQIA+ people. It matters for immigrants. It matters for poor and working class people. It matters for people who have been harmed by religion. It matters for anyone who has ever entered a space wondering whether they would be welcomed fully or merely tolerated. Equity asks us to notice the difference between invitation and belonging. It asks who has to work harder to be heard, who has to explain their pain, who has to prove their worth, or who has to adapt to the systems that were not built with them in mind. Equity does not lower the meaning of freedom, it makes freedom honest. So we return to the question, that's the title of our service today. Where is the independence in Independence Day? For Unitarian Universalists, independence, if it's to mean anything worth honoring, must be large enough to include those who are excluded from it. It must be honest enough to name the harm hidden beneath the national myths. It must be humble enough to change. It must be generous enough to share. It must be just enough to repair. It must be loving enough to refuse a freedom that belongs only to some. So not to sound like I'm prophetizing UUism, but we're here in this building. The UU values help practice a deeper freedom. Independence Day can be an annual examination of conscience that invites us to ask, what kind of freedom are we practicing? Who has been left outside the promise? And what love is calling for us to repair? We gather around a love large enough to become justice. We gather around a freedom that is not finished until it is shared. So may we remember honestly. May we ask better questions. May we widen that circle. May we practice love as more than a feeling. May we make room for difference. May we make what we can. May we change what needs to be changing. May we be the change. And may we live so that one day independence is not only something that this country declared, but something that all people can finally experience. I'm in love with a country that does not yet exist. And this quote from a movie called Cloud Atlas. Our lives are not our own. From womb to tomb, we are bound to others, past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future. Thank you.
The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our church covenant. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. We're hoping that as the plate comes to you, you'll take it, bless it, and pass it on to the next person. Your gifts, which are received in love, are greatly appreciated. Thank you. We asked members of the congregation, what does freedom mean to you? And now Laura Askew and Virginia Fox are going to share some of the responses with you.
Is it on? Okay, great. Freedom means one has choices and the control and ability to decide for themselves.
Standing alone with pride.
Freedom.
Independence for me. All are able to vote and have access to a good education that enables them to have a full life.
Being able to be who you are, truly. Being able to be who you truly are.
It means being able to care for myself and to care for others.
It doesn't feel real.
Independence means working together so that we can all be ourselves.
Independence to me is the opportunity to match the person on the inside with the person on the outside, freely and without judgment.
Freedom to help others and help myself. Help with other people.
True independence is a myth. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Not having to worry about money, basically the same thing as freedom.
Freedom from my mental illness.
Freedom to choose.
Thank you, Laura and Virginia, and thank you to everyone who offered a response. What we hear in these reflections is that freedom is not one single thing. Freedom is choice, freedom is dignity, freedom is safety. Freedom is being able to live honestly as ourselves. Freedom is access to education, the right to vote, the ability to care for ourselves and one another, and the hope of not being trapped by fear, illness, poverty, or judgment. And we also hear something deeply Unitarian Universalist. Freedom is not only personal, it is relational. Our interdependence is bound up with one another. None of us is fully free, while others are pushed to the margins, denied care, denied opportunity, denied belonging, or denied the right to be. So we continue to ask on this day, may we carry these voices with us. May we ask not only, what does freedom mean to me, but also, what kind of community, what kind of country, and what kind of world makes freedom possible for all of us? Let us hold that question together as we move forward.
Thank you, Morgan. Now, please rise as you're willing and able for our closing hymn, number 159 in the Gray Hymnal.
You may be seated for our closing words. Our service here this morning is at an end, and our work has just begun. The work of holding one another and this community in love. The work of trusting that we are on the right path. The work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. The work of engaging in that which makes us whole. The work of deeper understanding and commitment. The work of letting go of that which does not serve us. The work of radical inclusion. The work of collective liberation. The work of this beloved community, a beloved community of which we all are a part, a place where we are welcomed, respected, valued, cherished, a place where we belong. Go in peace, amen, and blessed be. Now, please remain seated as Liam plays our postlude. invite you to follow along with the hand gestures, heart, light of truth, warmth of love, and fire of courage as Cal extinguishes our chalice. The words to UUSP's traditional chalice lighting are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Our worship is over, but our service begins. Please join us for coffee hour in Gilmore Hall, and if you see someone not talking to anyone, maybe go up and say hello. We hope this time together will help you through your week, will help you remember you are not alone. Thank you.